Hello and welcome to Lincoln Visits. My name is Jeff Maul. I'm Executive Director of Visit Lincoln, here for another episode of a podcast in the AOI Podcast Studio. And today I'm joined by good friend of high school athletics, Chuck Johnston. Chuck is the Executive Director of the Nebraska High School Sports Hall of Fame. Welcome to the podcast studio this beautiful Monday in the capital city.
Thanks, Jeff. It is beautiful Monday, and always happy to be in Lincoln and to have a chance to talk about high school sports and, of course, the Hall of Fame, too.
Yeah, I sat down over the weekend and I was kind of penning what I wanted to talk about today and kind of the topics we were going to cover. You and I have known each other for a long time. Goes back to your role in high school athletics as an athletic director. Talk about your path to where you are today when you got into the High School Sports Hall of Fame.
Well, I was a teacher and coach in Papillion La Vista and for 10 years, and then I got out and got into administration and spent my last part of time at Papillion La Vista High School as the athletic director. And so in total, I was there for 34 years. And of course, that makes me old, makes my hair white. And you do it for a while, you get to know a lot of people. And so I was fortunate enough to just be on the board of the Hall of Fame. And after not being on the board for very long, Larry Monksgaard had decided he was going to get out. And I was asked if I was interested, and I was. And so I've been doing it, I think, since 2014 as the director. Time flies.
You and I saw, you and I saw a lot of each other on the high school basketball court during state high school tournaments.
Yes.
There was always a friendly conversation that you and I had. And a lot of times we'd talk about baseball a little bit along the way. My son was growing up playing baseball. You had a passion for baseball as well growing up with your kids.
Yes. And we still talk about baseball. We were talking about it before this.
Yeah.
And what the wonderful job that you've done over there with the Sandhills Global Complex is just amazing. And fortunately, my two grandsons, Mac and Jetty, if you're out there, they're playing on a Braves team.
Sure.
And it's just been a lot of fun, and that you guys deserve so much credit for that.
Well, I appreciate that, and it's been a success. And it's just the whole model of youth sports is a whole other episode that we can talk about, the evolution, the growth. Let's talk about the High School Sports Hall of Fame. There was a vision at one time. You talked about Larry Monksgaard. Let's talk and take people through an abbreviated path from that vision, that idea, to really want to do what was right for high school sports.
Yeah, in the early 1990s, there was actually a group out in Gothenburg, and they had met for coffee, and they, the Pony Express station out there, they had talked about doing a High School Sports Hall of Fame and connecting it with the Pony Express station. And so they met with Denny Smith and Dwayne Haith and some people that were connected with the NSA at the time, and they started talking, and they were all on board. Everybody was going to do it that way. It was going to be in Gothenburg. And at some point, they decided, all of them, and I think even the Gothenburg group said it would be better served in Lincoln. And so in working with the NSAA and working with the board that had been established for the Hall of Fame, they decided to have it here. For years, it was just a paper organization. Started in 1994. And for years, it was paper organization. And then ultimately, the NSAA built that beautiful building north of Haymarket Park Complex. And the NSAA leased us about 7,500 square feet. And that sat there for a while. And around 2014, we started saying, let's get going, on making this something. And they had the flooring in, and I know you've been out there, but the basketball part is a basketball floor, and volleyball is volleyball, and football has some turf, and so forth and so on. But we didn't have anything, so we got some of our first cabinetry done around 2014, and everything that's above floor has been done since that time. And I say this not really with much hesitation. I think it's the best in the country. And I say that because we've had people visit us from California, Florida, Texas, Georgia, and they're all like, this is amazing. And so we're really lucky to have a great group of board of directors and to work with the NSAA, who've been fantastic partners, and the NCAA with Darren Boyson and that group, and they've all been great for us.
It's a destination. We talk a lot about all the great, hidden gems we have in this community when it comes to other attractions. You talk about the Children's Zoo, the Children's Museum. This is indeed a hidden gem. Let's walk through the front doors, you and I right now. Let's walk through the front doors and tell people what they're going to see, because in my mind, what I see is I see interaction. I see a lot of colorful jerseys from days gone
Yeah,
by.
for sure.
I see wood floors. I see a kiosk. I see a lot of rich video. Walk us through the museum so that if somebody out there is listening or watching and goes, like, should we take time to do this?
Yeah.
This is where you sell it and bring it home.
Well, and I would say last year, we were part of the Passport program last summer, and we had, I think, 1,500 plus visitors, and not one person walked out of there and said, "Oh, this is good." We had a lot of people say this was our best stop on this visit, and it does have something for everyone. You walk in the front, and depending on which side you walk through, as you walk in, the actual entrance that we want people to walk in, there's the Wally McNaught Theater, named after a longtime Lincoln Southeast AD and early board member Wally McNaught. And there we show videos, we talk to teams. We have a big wall that is a mascot wall of all the current mascots. We talk about some of the interesting mascot names, the Fairbury Jeffs and the Benson Bunnies. And
I'm a Jeff, but not by where I grew up.
I know. I understand. The Whippets. There's a Pendragons. There's a lot of Chanticleers. There's a lot of great, and we always ask kids, do you know why your school was named this? And so it's good conversation with young people when the Coaches Association All-Stars come in the summer. So you can spend time in there, and there's stuff all over the walls in there. But then you go out, and there's the football exhibit area with Eric Crouch's high school uniform and Scott Frost's high school uniform. And we have other uniforms there. And a lot of interactive stuff, Jeff, that we have for young people. In the football one, you can play a 6-man football game. It's sort of like a little bit of Nintendo. And then you go into the track area, track and field. And even there's a thing that shows how high people have jumped and how far they've jumped and some of the great track athletes on the wall. Nebraska's a lot better track state than a lot of people think.
Yeah.
We've had some dudes and gals that are right up there among the best. Then you go into the golf. We have a little putting green. The tennis area has some really cool exhibit stuff on the wall. We're now in the process of doing an officials wall on the far end, and we have a swimming and diving wall. And at that far end is the Hall of Honor, and that's where all the people who have been inducted, and we have
It's amazing.
some great names up there. And it's the Hall of Honor is beautiful. And I was going to talk to you about the fact that about a month ago, we had an inductees day, and we invited mostly local people who had been inducted at that time. And we are getting them on video so that in the Hall of Honor, let's say it's Gene Sear or his daughter Lee, you can click on their name and it will be them talking about their high school experiences. Amy Stevens came. There were so many people that came and talked about their high school experiences. Some were coaches, some were athletes. We had Jerry Godowski and his wife, Sammy Resch Godowski.
Fremont Tiger, right?
Fremont Tigers.
Yeah, right.
You got that right. And so it's going to be a really nice addition to the exhibit Hall of Honor, where you can click on someone and see them talking about it. And it's there for posterity, for their kids or grandkids, relatives, friends, whatever. And then if you left that area and went back out, you go to the basketball area, which we're also redoing part of a wall there. There's constantly change. In the basketball section, we have a shooting thing at just exactly what they have at Pinnacle Bank Arena, where you shoot baskets against someone else. In the volleyball, you can set and spike a volleyball up against a fake wall. And then from there, you go into the softball, baseball area. And that one, we have a hitting thing where you hit home runs, you stand and hit. My grandson Mac loved that when he did that. He wanted to keep doing it.
I'm sure.
And then you just kind of go back through, and now you're into football. And in the middle is a timeline, interactive exhibit timeline, where you touch on years or sports or schools, and you just touch it, and you can pull up all sorts of different stuff. And then we have a quiz. We have a kind of evolution of sports thing. There's an awful lot in that 7,500 square feet.
There really is. And I find myself when I'm in there, you never really see everything as you're going through, because you get distracted because there's so many great things in the evolution of. Two things I want to pull out of that conversation and that little bit that you talked about. Give us some notable names that made it in high school athletics in Nebraska that excelled at the highest level nationally, either collegiately or professionally, that has a presence in the museum.
Well, Gail Sayers is one.
Oh my gosh!
And,
wow.
we got some stuff when Gail had gotten ill. We called his wife, and she got a hold of his brother Roger, who's also in the Hall of Fame and was a sprinter who beat Bob Hayes in the Olympic trials. We have some Gail Sayers autograph stuff, a couple of jerseys, different kinds of jerseys. One is a Bears one, and one's a Central High one that somebody had put together. We have Bob Gibson autograph stuff, and I would argue, if you're a baseball fan and you're looking at a top 10 pitchers of all time, Bob Gibson's there. And in my mind, even though I wasn't and have never been a Cardinals fan, he might be the guy I would have pitch if I had to win one game. But Bob Gibson left Creighton as the, I think, all-time leading scorer at Creighton in basketball, and played for the Harlem Globetrotters when it wasn't, let's just go out and goof around kind of thing, before the NBA really expanded. He was that good. But there's so many, we've got Jordan Hooper, who is one of the best 5 players ever at Nebraska, brought us her Nebraska jersey and brought us a WNBA jersey.
Very
and
cool.
We have that up on the wall. We recently, we try to keep current. And last year's induction class, we got Darren Ruff and we got Chad Myers to bring their professional jerseys in from the Giants and the Cubs. And then we got Alex Gordon, a pair of shoes from Alex, and a bat from Alex that we now display. The baseball, softball, and you haven't been in lately, that wall is pretty cool.
I need
it's
to come
really
in.
pretty cool.
I need to,
And that's the thing. It changes. We try to stay up on it with the technology and also with things that are worthy to be in the Hall of Fame. We're doing a pretty good job when people get inducted of saying, hey, do you have something, that would be worthy of this? And people have been so, generous to us.
We got so much to talk about, and we only have so much time. And I think about if somebody out there is watching and mom, dad, somebody in the family was a competitor in high school athletics, do people walk in off the street with boxes of stuff? I mean, do you still see that? Because I know back in the day, you started getting donations like that. Where are you guys at with that kind of stuff right now?
Well, people can reach out to us, and they do. Some will call and say, hey, do you want this? And we're not into now we want the 1982 Suburban Conference Championship trophy. The trophies have to be fairly significant.
Sure.
A uniform has to be fairly significant. It doesn't have to be from a significant person, but a historically significant thing, because we only have 7,500 square feet. At one point, it was like, how are we going to fill this? Now it's like, we wish we had a little more room. And so we will take stuff, but generally, if someone brings something off the street, probably not so much. One of my favorite stories is there's a guy named Gary Power who is in our Hall of Fame as a hurdler. He was from Gothenburg, actually, and he was an okay hurdler in high school, but in college, he grew like 4 inches. He became a world-class hurdler, and he competed I can't remember which Olympics it was, in the Olympic trials, and he beat Willie Davenport, who was the Olympic champion, but then he pulled a hamstring. Well, Gary comes walking in one day, and he's about my height. He's about 6'3", 6'4", and he's got like old gray, it looks like he was in the Eagles today with gray, and he's like walking around. I said, hey, how's it going? Good. He said, I'm in here. And I'm like, yeah, you are. Well, he was in there, and we started talking. And I asked him, I said, do you have anything? He says, I've got some stuff. So he came back a little while later, not that day, but about a month later, and brought us a box, and it had an Olympic flag signed by Willie Davenport, Charlie Green from Nebraska, Tommy Smith it was 68 Olympics with the fist, Bob Beeman. I mean, it was really a fantastic flag.
I remember you telling that story before.
Yeah.
I remember the photo, like what it stands out. It's very
and here's
memorable.
A guy from Gothenburg, Nebraska on that 68 Olympic
Unreal.
team. So it's things like that are really fun. And, a couple of weeks ago, Mike and I were in there, my assistant, Mike Rasmussen, and Shauna Jones came in, and she's from Hastings, 4-time state cross country. We didn't know who she was. She was walking in. Mike's, hey, how are you? And the guy said, well, she's up in here. Oh, what's your name? Shauna. Well, it was Shauna Jones. And we're like, yeah, she's got a pretty big mural up there in the cross country area.
Wow.
So it's just things like that are so much fun.
Chills every time that you talk about the museum. So we're kind of in the lightning round portion of our podcast. We had so much to talk about. There's 3 things I want to touch on really quick before we wrap up. We're going to shift a little bit to a podcast that you're doing. This is weird for you, I think, to be on the other end of the microphone.
It is very weird.
This guy's got a really good podcast. Where can people find the High School Sports Hall of Fame on social media and on the web?
Well, on social media, you can go to our, of course, website. Well, first of all, we're at 500 Charleston Street physically.
Yep.
But you can go to www.nebhalloffame.org. And then on social media, just whether it's Instagram or whatever, just type in Nebraska High School Sports Hall of Fame. It will come up. If you want to talk about the podcast real quickly.
Let's do that.
It's called Legends Rock, and you can stream it on any service that you can stream it on. The idea was to talk about high school sports and music.
Mm-hmm.
No politics, just let's talk about what we remember. And it doesn't have to be with a high school sports Hall of Famer. For example, the first one I did was Kent Pavelka. He would tell you he's not in the Hall of Fame as an athlete, but he was at a school, Lincoln Northeast, where there were quite a few Hall of Famers, and we talked about that, and just in general talk about high school sports and talk about your love of music. You and I talked about talking with Fred Huey and just music, and Fred and I could have talked for a half hour. You're going to be on there someday, and we may talk for a half hour about baseball. I don't know.
Sure we will. Yeah, we can talk a lot about that. Yeah. Great podcast that you do. I enjoy listening to it. A lot of good storytelling.
It's like yours. Rob McCartney, who was one of the early guests, said this is going to morph. It's not going to, because my original was going to be just baby boomers. It's completely morphed, and I'm doing people that are in their 30s, 40s, 60s, different 50s, different ages, and we do get to talk about a lot of things, and we do try to weave in somehow the Hall of Fame and some connection to them, even if they're from out of state, even if they didn't go to school here, like Marty Cordero. But I was able to mix in his school and the athletes at his school with the same year that the athletes in Nebraska at that time. So that was fun.
I think what I hear from that, the real wow thing is there is a significance of high school sports in today's society. I think there is a pureness to high school sports right now. There's so much happening once they get out of high school and into college and into professional sports. You guys have done such a great job of preserving that. You and Mike Rasmussen both are two of the most likable gentlemen in high school.
Well, Mike is. And I don't know if you know, Mike's getting out.
Yeah, I heard that.
Going to be replaced by Todd Henricks.
Oh, my gosh.
Longtime Lincoln Journal-Star sports guy and worked other things in Lincoln. Very fortunate for what Mike did, all the years he did it, and very fortunate to have Todd now taking his place very soon.
Todd's a little bit of an encyclopedia when it comes to sports. He covered a lot over the years.
Yes, he's a really good person.
Okay, let's put a wrap on it. A couple quick questions of fun. I imagine you've had some high school concessions over the years.
A lot.
What was your go-to when you walked in the arena?
Well, you got to have a hot dog.
Sure.
It's just, I remember my friend Chuck Zerker used to say, I can't wait for baseball season for hot dogs. And he always said, Humphrey Bogart used to say, a hot dog at the ballpark is better than a ribeye at the Ritz. And
I agree with that.
I mean, for me, just a little mustard, a little, relish, maybe onion, no ketchup.
You just became more likable with exactly what you put on that hot dog.
Oh, I mean,
don't bury it in ketchup.
No, never, no ketchup.
You lose everything.
I used to put a touch, but I won't even do that anymore. Not even a touch.
It's funny that you bring that up because when my girls were playing volleyball in high school and we traveled the state, I had a little bit of a following of trying to find the best possible hot dog in high school sports. Aurora. And Aurora grilled them out back of the concession stand to the gym, had that grilled, charred little char marks on it. They had all kinds of toppings for it, and it was gold.
Probably started with Jack Guggenmoss getting that done.
It probably did.
The best concession stand in the state, Roncalli. Go to a football game at Roncalli, thank me later. And get ready to stand in line.
Yeah.
Best concession stand I've ever been to.
You guys heard that right, Roncalli.
Roncalli High School.
All right. If you had a walk-up song or if you had a warm-up song, what is Chuck Johnston going with?
I appreciate that you gave me a minute to think about that.
You bet. I had to give you a heads up.
I don't know what I would have said, but I do know I would probably have them play Carolina in My Mind by James Taylor.
Nice.
Yes. Because it would relax me. Carolina in My Mind, we go there. In fact, we're going there next week with my wife and daughter-in-law and son and daughter-in-law and my grandkids. And it just is a relaxing, and it's a great go there in your mind kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that I'd probably go up and drop bombs if I was going to go up and hit after playing Caroline in my mind, no question.
I probably was the last song I thought somebody would bring up because there's so many songs that everybody goes to the same stuff over and over again.
You got to have a banger. You got to have a,
You're right.
you know.
But I'm not surprised you did something like that. So
that would be it. Caroline in my mind.
Our time's come to a quick close, and I feel like you and I could do an episode 2 and episode 3 and on beyond, because there is so much that you've done again for the sport, and I appreciate it. High school athletics. Chuck, thanks for your role in what you do in tourism in Lincoln and Lancaster County.
Thanks so much, Jeff. I would just say thanks to our board, who talk about legends and people that have helped us so much. And this Hall of Fame wouldn't exist without the board and the people that have made it, you know, what it is, the Dick Beechners and the Dwayne Hayes and Sue Wilcoxon, our current president.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many out there.
Yeah.
And I can't thank them all, but we have a great group, and we're very fortunate to work with people like that.
Safe to say this is one of the most likable guys in the state of Nebraska. Chuck, I appreciate your time today and your friendship over the years and all the great conversation. We need to do lunch.
All right, Jeff.
Good to see you again, my friend. To learn more about all the great things going on in Lincoln and Lancaster County, log on at our website, lincoln.org, follow us on social media, and thank you for your role in being the people that make the place.